Right now? My name is Hunter Lilly. Should I say my title? No, okay. I'm a guinea pig, so it's all good.
Are you going for the team?
Hey, look, I'm on the screen.
You don't want to do it
There's
that
two
way.
of me.
This is not working. Hold on. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. What do I don't want to do this. This is what I,
What happens if you just put it on top? Is it recorded?
okay, I think it'll work.
Okay.
It's recorded. Let's go.
Okay. My name is Hunter Lilly, and my presentation is on Ireland, their history, understanding them, and how that affects their communication. This is the 1996 Manchester city bombing. No deaths, but there were about 8 people injured. This was done by the Irish Republican Army. My IPC terms are the transaction model of communication. Differences in our cultures and histories may make it difficult to gauge the relevant context in conversation, potentially causing misunderstanding between let's say, an American and an Irish person. Empathetic listening, Ireland has a long and troubled, no pun intended, history. And one of the most productive things to do when talking to someone from the country is simply trying to understand where they're coming from, both literally and figuratively. Negotiation. It is apparent that one of, if not the biggest issues in Ireland today, revolves around the border and the prospect of unification. Perhaps both sides could benefit from the negotiation steps and skills. This is a picture of a map of Ireland, and here you can see this is Northern Ireland, which is currently owned by England. Relationship with Britain. Oliver Cromwell led a campaign from 1649 to 1653, resulting in complete English rule over Ireland. At this time, the penal laws were put into effect, which lasted until 1829, during which Irish Catholics, which make up the majority of this population, were prohibited from voting, holding public office, and owning or leasing land, basic rights. Education also stopped when Catholics were exiled and made homeless from this area. They didn't really have a whole lot going on here either. In the 1600s, many Irish were forcefully and involuntarily relocated to the Caribbean as workers. A debate persists over whether to call this servitude or slavery. Many Irish blame the potato famine in part on the British. During the Blight, heavy exports of food continued, with research suggesting that for food like livestock and butter, exports grew. During this time, about 1 million Irish Catholic women, children, and men died of starvation and other malnutrition-related diseases. Resentment against the British remained so strong that during World War II, Ireland never declared war or formally joined the fighting, out of spite against the British. This is a famous picture from a period called the Troubles, which lasted from 1968 to 1998. The opposing forces were Protestant loyalists who sought to keep Northern Ireland under English rule, and Catholic Republicans who were after unification between Northern Ireland and the main Ireland. The nationalists wanted to reclaim Northern Ireland and sought reunification with the Republic of Ireland. The original IRA was formed in 1919. They became a nationalist terrorist group supporting unification. They found a large amount of support and used bombings and violence in an attempt to force the hand of the English government. The first of many splits and offshoots occurred within the IRA in 1969, resulting in the officials, which were peaceful and sought to use diplomacy to reach their goals, and the provisionals, which became the IRA that we traditionally think of, and they were a terrorist group that used bombings and violence. On January 30th, 1972, an event called Bloody Sunday happened, during which 13 Catholic civil rights demonstrators were shot and killed, with 15 more being injured by British paratroopers. The British Army falsely claimed that the protesters were gunmen and bombers, which was later disproved nearly 40 years later in 2010. At the time, Bloody Sunday led to a huge uptick in IRA members, gaining them vast support in the country. These are pictures of the Irish border or locations around it. As you can see here, it says, "Welcome to Northern Ireland." Most likely somebody who is most likely someone who is pro-unification, spray painted out the word Northern there because they view it as just Ireland. Here you have a speed limit sign which they spray painted IRA over, referring to the Irish Republican Army. And here it says, "Listen to our voices, respect our vote, no EU frontier in Ireland. Border communities against Brexit." And then on the far picture, it says Irish Unity, and here you can see a picture of the island of Ireland, and right here, oh no, what happened? Right here would be the location of Northern Ireland, but they didn't distinguish between the two because they're for unification. They view it as the solution to Brexit. So it is not difficult or uncommon today when visiting Ireland to hear feelings of resentment towards Britain. These feelings have persisted ever since. Now with Brexit being passed and the official withdrawal of the UK from the European Union, of which Ireland is still a member, old feelings over the Irish border are being stirred up yet again. With many calling for reunification and Britain continuing to hold on tight, some fear rising tensions could lead to a new period of the Troubles. Recap is pretty simple. The Irish aren't that big of a fan of Britain, and they never have been. When my mother and father went to Ireland for their anniversary last year or the year before, my mother went on a tour, and she spoke with her tour guide, and he was speaking about Britain. And she said something along the lines of, "Sounds like you guys felt about Britain like we used to feel." His response was, "Felt? We still feel that way. Everything bad that has happened to Ireland is because of the British. It's because of the British." My memorable moment is that it is clear that Ireland has a rough history and is currently in a time of political and civil tension. However, clear and healthy communication could be the key to moving forward and moving on. Those were all my citations. I had quite a few.
Good, good, yes, applause. Good job. Good job. You got your stuff in there. Okay, let me